much for inviting me to your studio. And it's very exciting to sit in front of this dynamic work. I mean, what intrigued me about your work, which I've known for a number of months now here in Bath, is the energy.
Yes.
You know, when I look at it, I think, of course, the result is different, but I think of Jackson Pollock. You know, somebody asked me about what his work is all about. It's energy.
Exactly.
And it's about spontaneity, and it's about, but maybe that's not the way you work.
It's about energy, it's about impact, it's about feeling. It's an explosive energy. You know? It's a celebration.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, it is. It does look like an explosion, and you know, sometimes people have a difficult time with abstract work because it's also a bit chaotic, isn't it? So,
yeah.
But and how do you reconcile the chaos?
It's a gradual process. I mean, really, that's what I do. I make sense of chaos. I try to make sense of chaos because life is chaos. I am chaos. And so I've got to make sense of myself.
Yes.
And I find the best way of doing that is by forming expressions of that into a being, into a whole, into something which is holding itself in a moment of formation from the chaos.
Mm.
And this is what a lot of my work, I think, expresses, is that moment in time of formation within the chaos.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I think you've said in some of your writings and some of the other interviews we've had together that music plays a great part in this as well. So
Yeah.
is there a particular music that lifts you to this kind of motion? I mean, when I see the forms, to me they're floating. So, you know, I think of Sibelius myself, or something, you know, they're floating in air, and I can go in and out, and I can have a journey in the canvas.
Interesting. I mean, I like to listen to a lot of music, and I will listen as I'm working, you know, because it keeps something about listening to the music while being in the process of working out an arrangement, a composition from all this explosive energy that's just blowing around in all kinds of ways that I can't immediately comprehend. The music helps me to actually, it's integral with my thinking process and my planning of the work.
Well, what type of music do you respond to the most then?
It seems to be a range. So for some reason, a lot of electronic music.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's interesting.
Yeah, so sort of contemporary modern electronic music.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anyone has heard of Aphex Twin. It's very chaotic.
Yeah.
Sort of jazz elements in there too, though. And obviously there is that sort of playful improvisational jazz-like quality in the forms and the shapes, you know, and obviously the colours. There's some sort of synesthesia thing that I get. So in terms of music and how that's composed, I think I'm going through a very similar thing, but visually.
Where you start and stop according to the beat, or according to the rhythm, or according to...
Exactly. So that rhythm will... there'll be aspects of that rhythm that are communicated in particular sort of arrangements of shapes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that might emphasize that specific area. Say this sort of fragmented portion of a rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
Could be from one specific piece of music that's influenced that, and but then up there, you know, maybe that's more chaotic arrangement. Maybe that's more you know, aphex twin or square pusher or something like that.
So is it harmonic music or is it tonal? I mean, I think of John Cage when you talk about that's, you know, really going back. But when you think about music that is digital, you know, kind of for the first time, or
I think there's something about the sound as well.
Yeah.
The electronic sound is there's a resonance, I think, between those sort of sounds and these specific sort of colours.
Yeah. Well, now you sound like Kandinsky, don't you?
Ah,
there you are.
There it is.
So I think we were talking about, I had mentioned Kandinsky and the inspiration that, and you mentioned to me synesthesia, which of course is a condition where your senses are duplicated really, where you can hear a color and where you can see forms and shapes from a tone, which we were just talking about.
That's right,
How does your mind work? How do you reconcile all these
I think I'm just more sensitive to these arrangements, you know, because if that makes sense, because I guess it stems from my neurodiversity. I never knew, you know, I was that different until I got my diagnosis like 20 odd years ago now. Obviously none of that helped me through school, you know. That was a bit of a failure, but hence really why art was so important to me, because I turned to that as a source of empowerment. You know, this is what really empowered me, finding myself as a process of that journey, you know. And now that I've got this, it's like a Asperger's thing, you know. It's it explains the sensitivity, you know, and the chaotic nature of my own mind as well, and why it's so important for me to express that, not as just someone who thinks differently.
The resolution is a release for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
from
a release.
That battle.
Yeah.
So it's really a kind of a victory.
It's a release, because otherwise I'd have so much energy.
Yeah.
I would probably just cave in mentally, you know. It's a way I couldn't cope without this, you know. And you know, I had, you know, quite a hard time growing up as a boy, you know. So I'm all the more aware of how important it is to create art that's not just nice or pleasing or colourful, but actually it speaks to the general, you know, to the people as a whole, and
very uplifting.
And uplifts people, and they realise the positivity and reawakens that sense of magic. You know. So it's important to me to voice how important it is, you know, and what comes out of having a different sort of way of thinking about things. You know, for me it was the art, you know, and it continues to be so. So yeah, you know, all my work really are sort of reflections of me, really.
Which is what it should be.
A
personal statement. You know, and it makes you very vulnerable too, though, because I think as an artist, I trained as an artist years ago as well, and you know, we were chatting about that. And you're vulnerable when you show your work, because it is
you're exposing yourself
on the canvas.
Exactly. It really is like being naked on a canvas, you know. So and thankfully, most people will look at my work and they'll fall in love by the joyfulness and the colour and the playful nature of the work.
In some ways, your neurodiversity enhances your work.
Oh, definitely.
Because it allows
definitely
you
does.
to, it's this outlet for this bottled up creativity.
Absolutely, yeah, it's bottled up, yeah.
And so you can express it on the canvas and in your composition.
Exactly, I express that through my art, in ways that I can't do through normal daily activities or other forms of communication. They are reflections of me. You know, each painting I do, in a way, it has its own character as well. So, and I think that says something about the different elements of oneself as well, the different aspects, the different characters we contain within ourselves, you know. And each one is like an individual projection. So, although the work is very my work is quite similar, they're all different characters. They're all family born from myself.
Well, that's interesting, a family.
If there's one particular piece of work I just want to get on with, and it's taken a long time to come up with a final idea, then I will just do one piece of work. I like to try to get to a point where I've got enough information to do more than one at a time. It can be between sort of 2 to 4, really. I think that's a kind of.
And how long does it take you to complete one?
About a month, probably about a month. The final actual painting phase, and then all the preliminary work probably about another month. But that's pushing it, you know. I'm so particular about what I want. I'm like, no, and I'll spend the next month or so just reworking it again and again, you know, because it needs to be right in my mind.
Some of it is collage. Can you talk about the actual technique that you use?
I'll begin with the white paint, and it's important to have that lovely, clean, smooth white paint on a smooth, sanded canvas. And I will sand each one of these canvases flat before I begin, so it's like a paper quality. And it's extremely difficult, but it needs to be done because then you've got that beautiful flat quality, but you still got the arrangements of the different shapes and colour, which have a three-dimensional effect, you know, and that's what you get when you look at the work, such as this one, is different forms and shapes. So in front of one another, and but then that's something you can play with your own imagination, you know. So this white to me in the middle seems to be in the background, but what's this or that? Is that in the foreground or the background? You know, this lovely green wiggle coming down here is, to me, that seems to be quite in the middle sort of layer or layers of this arrangement. So it goes on one side of things you've got this lovely flat finish, but on the other hand there are lots of different layers going back, lots of dimension going into the work. So I'll begin with the white, and then I'll go through a process, gradually going through the light greys, the darker greys, and then the lighter colours down to the browns and the black. You know. And so I build up the image quite methodically. Yeah.
What was your earlier work like? when did you develop this particular genre that is your signature actually now?
Yeah. I mean, this really does feel like me.
Yes.
This is me. You know, if I wasn't here, that would be me. You know, that's me. You know, one day I won't be here, and but thankfully these will continue to be me.
And now the title is important to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the bigger, more complex pieces, I have longer, more complicated titles.
Okay. Is this long and complicated?
Yeah, this one's called "Rocking the Weapons of Creation and Destruction."
Oh my.
And in a way, that kind of sums up exactly what's going on in the image.
Yeah.
You know,
so the two forces are competing with one another?
Fighting with
one another?
It's a tug of war, you know, that's it. So it is about.
And does that reflect your creative process as well sometimes?
Yeah.
A tug of war?
It reflects
Between the regular and the chaotic, between the intuitive and the cognitive?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have
yeah.
this struggle going on all the time.
Yeah, it's a struggle. Yeah, about forming the arrangement. It's about being the composer.
Yeah.
That's it. And
the violin.
Yeah, that's it. You know, so and it's a really difficult place to be because you've got to balance all of this out somehow in a way that makes sense.
Well, does it need to make sense? I mean,
to me, it does.
Well,
yeah.
I mean to you, but I mean to the viewer. Isn't
Well,
it just
I
enough
think
to
so.
be?
Yeah.
They don't have to read even without the title. They would see the joy, the energy, the colour, the form, which would excite them. Which is
true.
in a way.
But to me, I think that there's more than that. I mean, that there's a lot of abstract artists that commercially pleasant, I guess, for just one way to put it. But I'm trying to do something that's saying a little bit more than that. You know, to me, it's important to. It's going beyond that. And I think going back to the neurodiversity, I think maybe that's why I feel that that's such an important aspect to try to portray in the work, to bring those ideas out.
And I know you write. Do you write about your work then? Because the title is important, and I know you're hoping to produce a book this year about your work.
Yeah.
And so the titles, then you explain that. You have a kind of a caption to help us.
Well, I do a lot of creative writing as well.
Okay.
So and a lot of that will be sort of stream of consciousness.
Oh, okay.
You know,
sure.
I'm actually hoping to do another book further on down the line, which is just all of that.
Yeah.
You know,
that would be great.
I think that would be quite fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But
sounds very exciting.
Yeah. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to go about it, but yeah, I think it should be fun. So yeah, I think it's that being spontaneous is a way of freeing important things within yourself. You learn about yourself. Well, I've learned about myself, about different elements about me through doing this work. You're in your own world. That's your world. Yeah, that's your reality. You're bringing your reality, and I guess that's quite a spiritual element in a way, because it's so personal.
Yes.
And yeah, that's the magic of it. You know, manifesting alpha waves.
Well, I can't thank you enough for allowing me to, have the inside story of how your creations are. You contemplate them, create them, and the joy and the beauty that we all get when we see them. It's terrific. Well, I know you've gotten very positive feedback from everyone I've shown the work to, so I'm
great.
Looking forward to great things from you in the future.
Well, that would be great, wouldn't it? Let's make it happen.
Good, let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Was that alright?
I'm just going to come in and just do a super close-up of you. It's all right.
Alright, I'll have to pretend the camera's not there.